All right, so get ready because today we are taking a deep dive into this crazy world of modern dating. But with a twist,
Oh, a twist.
we are going to be exploring how people of faith try to find love in 2024. We found this super interesting podcast called Followers of Yahweh, and it's full of advice about dating.
Followers of Yahweh.
Yeah. They have some pretty funny stuff in there, but also some really good advice about finding a partner who shares your faith.
That's a pretty interesting topic,
It is.
especially these days. I
Yeah.
mean, how do they even frame it?
Well, one of the things they talked about is this idea of divine guidance.
I've heard of that.
Like a higher power is somehow, involved in your love life.
Oh, so it's not just about swiping, right?
Yeah.
But more about like trusting that there's a plan,
Exactly.
even if it doesn't always feel like it.
Yeah, it's like in Proverbs it says to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding.
Oh, yeah. Proverbs 3.5 down 6.
That's the one. In all your ways submit to him and he will make your paths straight.
So it's like taking a leap of faith.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's one thing to, trust in a higher power when it comes to like big life decisions.
Right.
But to actually like surrender control when it comes to something as personal as like who you're going to date,
Yeah.
that's a whole other level.
I mean, that takes a lot of trust.
For sure.
But it is something that resonates with a lot of different faiths.
Yeah, absolutely.
This whole idea of surrendering to like a divine plan.
Yeah.
But they also talk about how you can't just sit around and wait for a partner to just show up at your doorstep. You
Right.
still have to, put yourself out there.
On dates.
Make choices.
Meet people.
Exactly.
Maybe even try out one of those dating apps.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, the podcast also talks about those dating apps.
We do,
They actually get into some of the red flags to look out for.
which is helpful.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that they talk about how some red flags are kind of specific to people of faith. Yeah, like one of the big ones they mentioned is if someone like disrespects your faith or tries to pull you away from it.
Oh, that's a deal breaker.
Totally. I mean, if you're really serious about building a life with someone, the shared foundation of faith is super important.
Yeah, it's not just about like agreeing on what holidays to celebrate.
Right.
It's deeper than that.
It's about supporting each other on your spiritual journeys.
Exactly.
What's really cool is that they actually bring in some science to back this up.
Science.
Yeah, they mentioned this study from the Journal of Marriage and Family. And it found that couples who share religious beliefs actually tend to have stronger and more satisfying relationships.
Wow. So there's data to support it?
Yeah, it's not just like a nice idea.
Well, that's interesting.
And, it makes sense when you think about it. Like, from a psychological perspective, shared values usually lead to a stronger sense of unity and purpose in a relationship.
Right. And then like from a social standpoint, faith communities often provide a built-in support system,
Yeah.
which can be so valuable.
Especially when you're going through tough times.
Definitely.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
I like that.
Having a partner who shares your faith is kind of like having a teammate on your spiritual journey.
Oh, yeah.
They even quote that verse from Psalms where it talks about finding delight in the law of the Lord.
Psalm 1.1 to 3.
Yep. Meditating on it day and night.
Like really immersing yourself in your faith.
Totally. It's about having someone who gets that.
Right. Someone who encourages your spiritual growth instead of holding you back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or even worse, trying to pull you away from what you believe in.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful point.
It is.
They also use this analogy of iron sharpening iron.
Oh, yeah.
It's like having a partner who challenges you to become a better version of yourself,
I like that.
both within your faith and just as a person in general.
It's deep. But before we get too serious here,
I know, right?
one of the things I really appreciate about this podcast is that they don't shy away from humor,
Yeah, they definitely keep it real and relatable.
which is refreshing when you're talking about something as personal as faith and relationships.
For sure.
Like they even had this bit about how dating app profiles should have like a spiritual compatibility score,
Wait, what?
like a credit score for your soul.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I can just imagine seeing that pop up on a profile.
Talk about a conversation starter.
Seriously.
But they're making a serious point.
They are.
They're saying that in today's dating world, finding someone who aligns with your faith is a huge priority for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be taboo to talk about it.
No, you should be able to be open and honest about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like they're encouraging people to not be afraid to say, hey, this is important to me.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool.
So, okay, let's say you're ready to find that godly mate. You're putting yourself out there. Maybe you're even on the apps.
Okay.
But how do you actually, find someone who shares your faith in this crazy world of modern dating.
Well, they talk about that too.
They do.
Yeah, they emphasize how important it is to be active in your faith community.
Okay, so like joining groups,
Yeah, like a young adult group.
volunteering. I just
Yeah.
go into services regularly.
Right, because if you're looking to connect with someone who shares your faith, it makes sense to start where people of faith hang out.
Makes sense to me. But they also say you shouldn't limit yourself to just your immediate circle.
Yeah, you got to branch out,
You got to get out there.
meet new people.
Step outside your comfort zone.
It could be through a friend of a friend, someone you meet volunteering.
What about online?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're back to the dating apps.
Back to the apps.
I mean, let's be real. A lot of those apps are designed for pretty superficial connections.
Yeah, that's true.
So how do you use them when you're looking for something deeper?
It's tricky,
It is.
but they have some ideas.
Oh, like what?
Well, first of all, they say to be upfront about your faith in your profile.
Oh,
Like, don't hide it.
be yourself.
Exactly.
Don't try to downplay it.
And don't be afraid to ask about their beliefs, too.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
early on.
Yeah, you don't want to waste time.
If someone's not cool with it, then it's better to know sooner rather than later.
Exactly. You're not trying to judge anyone or anything.
Right.
It's about finding someone who respects you.
And who's open to having those deeper conversations.
Exactly.
You know, it's like a journey of discovery,
I like that.
both for yourself and for the other person.
It's not about knowing everything.
Right.
It's about being open to learning
And growing.
and growing together.
They also talk about how social media can kind of mess with your head.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Like when you're constantly comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, or feeling like you have to present this perfect image.
It's like everyone's trying to have the perfect godly Instagram feed.
Oh my gosh, the perfect couple's photo at church.
Right.
The Bible verses over sunset pictures.
Like, don't get me wrong. I'm all for sharing your faith online.
Yeah, me too.
But it's important to remember that social media is just a highlight reel.
It's not real life.
So when it comes to dating, you have to stay grounded.
Yeah, don't get caught up in the illusion of perfection.
Oh, they also talk a lot about prayer.
Prayer.
Yeah, throughout the whole dating process.
That makes sense.
Like praying for guidance.
Clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being open to a higher power.
And asking for wisdom.
And discernment.
Ultimately for his will to be done.
I love that.
Because it's not just about praying for like the perfect partner.
Right.
It's about praying for the wisdom to recognize the right person when you meet them.
Yeah. And the strength to handle all the ups and downs of dating.
And the courage to be yourself.
Yeah, don't settle.
And they even talk about praying for the person you're meant to be with.
Even if you haven't met them yet.
Yeah.
Praying for their well-being and their growth.
Okay. I have to admit, that's pretty amazing.
It is.
It's like sending out good vibes into the universe.
Then they even talk about praying for your future children.
Wait, hold on. We're praying for hypothetical children now.
I know it sounds kind of out there.
I don't know if I'm there yet.
Yeah, it's definitely a next level thing.
It is.
But I think the point is to cultivate a spirit of gratitude
Okay.
and hope.
Yeah.
Even when dating feels hard.
Because you're not alone.
Right. There's something bigger than us out there.
It's comforting.
It is.
Like your love life is part of a bigger plan.
It's all part of a bigger tapestry.
Okay, so we've talked about being proactive and using dating apps intentionally. And praying.
Yeah.
But what about those first few dates?
No.
Like, let's say you meet someone. They seem great,
Okay.
but you're not really sure where they stand on faith.
Hmm.
How do you bring that up?
Without making it weird.
Yeah, you don't want to scare them off.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, how do you even start that conversation?
Well, they talk about that.
We do.
They say to look for natural openings.
Okay.
Like maybe they mention volunteering or a book they're reading that has something to do with faith. Then you can kind of use that as a way to share a bit about your own beliefs.
Oh, so it's like a little test.
Yeah, you can see how they react.
And then if they're open to it, you can talk about it more as you get to know each other better.
Exactly.
And if they don't seem interested,
well, that tells you something too.
it does. You know, it's not about trying to change anyone.
No, not at all.
It's about finding someone who you connect with.
Who respects you for who you are.
And who's open to those deeper conversations.
Which brings us back to compatibility.
It's so important.
It's not just about liking the same things or thinking someone's cute.
It's got to be deeper than that.
Yeah. It's about values.
Especially when it comes to faith.
The podcast talks about this idea of being equally yoked.
Oh, yeah.
It's from 2 Corinthians.
2 Corinthians 6.14.
That's the one. It's about finding someone who's on a similar path.
Who gets it?
I read somewhere that couples who pray together stay together.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that too.
Is that true?
I think so.
There's actually some research about it.
Really?
Yeah, it seems like couples who do things like pray together are more satisfied in their relationships.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because it can create a feeling of closeness.
Intimacy.
You're connecting to something bigger than yourselves.
It's like you're creating this sacred space
I like that, a sacred space.
where you can be vulnerable
And supportive.
and really connect on a deeper level.
And it's not just about praying for each other.
Yeah.
It's about praying together.
Sharing your hopes and fears.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Mhm.
what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
Ooh, good question.
I think it's that finding a partner who shares your faith is possible.
It is.
And it can be amazing.
Yeah.
You just have to trust that it will happen.
Okay.
Be proactive and be yourself.
I love that.
And don't forget to have fun.
Yes, have fun. Your love story is still being written.
It is.
Keep the faith.
Keep believing.
And who knows? You might just find your godly mate sooner than you think.